welcome back to the studio, where we just witnessed, we heard the hype train slowly moving through Kolbas inside for that first match.
That was a huge victory.
That was a huge victory for them, but it was also like, it was so tense the entire time. Like, I can imagine the pilots from Kolbas inside not really realizing that they had to grab 6 points from wherever.
No, they knew the whole time.
They knew, but I think they were hoping that they could still break the dummy. I mean, we've talked a bit before about how you get this kind of tendency to like keep working on what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like the sunk cost fallacy, but with damage. You've sunk a bunch of damage into a ship already. You don't want to have to switch off because then that'll all be wasted.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to just switch off sooner.
So, I mean, the fact that they managed to snap kill those two frigs right off the bat, that's, like you say,
it's huge. Those rep drones would have kept them out of a lot of that pressure, which potentially would have allowed them. I mean, it wouldn't have won them the match by itself or switched the match over, but it could have allowed them to be under all kind of clearer thinking. They would have had to worry less about staying alive and could maybe think more about how they're going to win it.
Yeah, we can get the stats up on the screen here and look at it there. So
they did similar damage to each other.
Yeah. Well, it's a 50K difference.
But yeah, these actually more damage dealt by Kolbas inside, interestingly enough.
Yes.
The We Heard team did really an amazing job of executing on that. It's one of the things that's sort of easy to forget about is how just intensely nerve-wracking it is when you're the frigates in these kind of setups, because you know that any moment, if you get your transversal down just a little bit too much, you're gone, and your whole team is losing and like a key tournament match because of it. It is hugely nerve-wracking. I remember flying a carries in a tournament match against a bunch of tracking computered nightmares once, and they're just like firing away at me, and I'm just so focused on keeping my transversal up that I actually forgot almost everything else that was going on in the match. And it surprised me just when suddenly they all died and our Sleipnir pilots just kind of killed them. But like it's very nerve-wracking.
So the last thing I want to talk about this match was that Legion. We don't know
Legion
exactly.
did something.
We don't know exactly what was going on. Somebody said that he may have burnt out his plate. I don't know.
It is possible.
No, he wouldn't have been running any lows.
But he wouldn't have. Yeah, it's unlikely that he would have been actively running something else beside the plate at that moment.
Yeah,
because he wasn't tanking himself.
So it's more likely that he onlined and offlined the plate to maybe get more reps in, or
yeah, offlining the plate seems like the most likely thing.
Some of those really heavy, like 14 active module legions, something like that. Like we'll online and offline stuff just to get power grid, particularly for onlining more reps in the highs. But what he did there, like, he did something just at the point before they switched off of him and went to the Myrmidon. It was either he had like triple reps in the lows or something like that, or he like onlined a 1600mm plate, like he just like double injected, got the cap for the onlined, and then they swapped off. He did something because he boosted like 50% of all of his armor in a single moment.
And right after that, We Heard switched off him.
Yeah,
so
because he was bait tanked in some way.
Yep, and it's quite possible that if they knew that would have required him to take off of his some of his reppers, we saw that the Myrmidon was dying a lot faster after that than before that. So yeah, that's very possible that could be it. Although, like onlining a plate in combat while you're being fired upon and running your reps is not easy.
Hardcore,
because
crazy
you need a lot of cap
stuff
to do that.
And Kolbas inside is a great team. Like, it seriously is one of the best tournament teams.
Well, they're like a combination. So they're like an amazingly good team. They're really good. They're not as good as some of the other teams. Like, they're not as good as maybe Pandemic Legion, the Alliance team tournament. They're not as maybe good as, even though they've beaten them before consistently, they're not as maybe good as Hydra. But they are way crazier than both Pandemic Legion and Hydra. And they're like crazy mavericks that are going to do something ridiculous every time they show up. And nobody's really going to know what happens. When Hydra beats you or when Pandemic Legion beats you, you know how they beat you. When Hun beats you, you're just like, what just happened? We lost the match. What just happened there?
Weird hype train keeps on trucking for at least for now. So it's time to go in and look at the next match, which is also a super exciting matchup between Thingy and Warlords of the Deep. And the bands are in. I'm going to add one thing. I don't think we're going to see more Dominixes in this best of three between We Heard and Kolbas inside.
You might be surprised.
I might be. So Thingy has banned out Dominic's Ishtar and Warlords of the Deep, sticking to their Vargur Golem ban that we saw yesterday as well.
I mean, obviously they don't want to see the two probably most effective Marauders. I mean, Paladins are probably up there with them, but these two Shield Marauders tank insanely hard. They're very, very, very hard to break. And I mean,
well, it may just be that the support wing for a shield setup, like something with the Scimitar, is a little bit stronger than an Armor or Nero sort of support wing that wants to get something done and then die.
Yeah, it can be. I think you also do get a bit higher burst tank, or just and burst tank ends up being sustain tank out of shield. So it is just a bit harder to break. That could just mean that they want to bring something that they just don't feel has, say, the nuding power to take down a Marauder. If it's like a team that is flexible, does a bunch of stuff, but just doesn't have a good game plan for beating Marauders. So that actually might be a good opportunity when you see that kind of ban to bring a Paladin.
What did they bring the last time they banned this? I believe they banned this their last match before this. They banned the same thing, and
it was like Sleipnir's, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So, if you could check that out.
The Warlords brought the double Eos and then Vexers. They brought the brawly.
Yeah, and you don't want to face the two most prominent Marauders with that one because...
Yep, Marauders could be tough. Marauders are have a decent chance of having smart bombs. Marauders are a lot of tank.
Yep. And so that might give their support wing kind of a chance to take out your entire team while you're focusing on that Marauder. But
I'm actually predicting something crazy. One of these two teams is going to bring something nuts.
Yeah, we'll see. Thingy and the Warlords guys, have they both been bringing nothing that's like super out of the box, but just very, very competent. Every setup has been well thought out. Every movement very, very
That's effectively how Hydra operates, or the Warlords of the Deep team operates. Everything they bring, both in the Alliance tournament and so far in the Neo, is kind of like, it's just very, very methodological. Like
it's so everything
that massively out of the box.
Everything that Hard SP has a say in is very, very calculated.
Yes.
Some of the rest of their team can be kind of flamboyant, and they want to like win with a flourish. But Harutu is one of the key guys in this team. Is very much just he just wants to win.
He's like CCP Rise. He's never had fun.
So we are ready with the match, and let's go into the predictions. CZP, Fozzie, your predictions.
Really close, but I'm going to go with Warlords.
Warlords of the Deep.
All three of us are in agreement here for this second best out of three, first game of that best out of three between Thingy and Warlords of the Deep. I'm going Warlords of the Deep as well. Let's see how it goes.